So, Bruce, welcome
Hi.
to the Netherlands again.
Yes,
And so, you've been here before, you've been there last year. So, what do you think about the country?
it's beautiful. I mean, the people are extremely nice. The food is fantastic. The city is great to walk around. There's so much to do. And luckily, I came in a day early so I could actually enjoy it. I very rarely do I come in a day early, but I like it here so much. I did specifically arrive here yesterday so I could enjoy the day. Plus, play a little poker at the Holland Casino. So
How did that go?
that went very well.
I see an extra big smile. Okay.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, what do you think about the Dutch crowd? As you feed off the crowd and you get energy from it. So, how do you feel about the Dutch crowd?
No, the Dutch crowd is excellent. I actually have announced a K1 event here, aside from UFC. And every time I've been here, the crowd has delivered. They're giving me the energy that I need to feed off of to make my performance, hopefully entertaining for them. And all good, all good. Solid fight fans. I mean, let's face it, some of the best kickboxers come out of Amsterdam and the Netherlands, and we'll see why tomorrow night in more ways than one.
Yeah, sure. So, and you said you were announcing a K1 K1 fight. Who was fighting on the card? You remember?
I'd have to think back. The problem is that I announce so many different fights that I actually have to go to my research and my files to remember some of the fights that I announced. That's why I wrote my book, It's Time, because I probably forgotten more than I remember, and I had to remember it again.
Yeah. About announcing all different kinds of names, what are the hardest kinds of names to pronounce?
The hardest names are the single-syllable names. Names like Frank Trigg, Mike Swick. If I have really, really super long names, I love those because the more syllables in the name, the more foreign the name, then the more fun for me to announce it. Instead of, with all respect to like Mike Swick, it's like Mike Swick. How do I draw that out? I draw it out as best as I can instead of like a super, super long name, like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious or whatever,
So how do you prepare for those names?
I don't rehearse. I say it to myself. I phonetically write it down on my cards. But I like to be natural. I like to be organic. So really the first time I've ever said them, aside from maybe, to myself a little bit, but out loud is when I'm in the octagon.
Okay. That's great. So let's go back like 21 years when you first started. How was your first UFC event announcing a fighter?
It was great. It was very exciting, a little nervous for being my first event. I never get nervous past the first few events I ever did for UFC. I get excited. But it was a great experience. I thought, okay, I did a really good job, and then I'll go look at the video now, especially today, 21 years later, and I'm like, no. But I did, it's all a maturation process in anything we do in life. The more you do it, the better you get. But if you ever ask me how many times I've rehearsed, just figure how many shows I've done. That's how many times I've rehearsed.
That's great. So, well, you have a lot of years of experience. When did you reach that moment when you thought, like, yes, this is going to be the way that I'm going to announce fights?
It is a constant evolutionary process. And I think I came into my own the way I really truly love to announce maybe some 10, 12 years ago when I really got to the point of how I wish to be announcing. But I've noticed that I've been even changing it up ever since then. I always keep an open mind. I never say I know everything. I never say I've seen everything. I'm always open to everything. And that's the way you learn, and that's the way you get better, no matter how old you are. I've learned that. Where when I was younger, I might have said, yeah, I know that. But now that I'm older, I go, no, I didn't. It's all about learning.
Okay, great. So, it's a learning experience, of course, and you actually have a half brother as well that does the announcing, and it's Michael Buffer for boxing. How did you notice that you have a sibling out there somewhere doing actually the announcing thing?
Well, I was a big fan of boxing. I have been my whole life. My grandfather was champion of the world in 1921. His name is Johnny Buff. He's in the history books. And in the late 80s, when Mike Tyson got very popular, this announcer came on the scene that was very debonair, very James Bond looking. He brought a whole new air to the ring announcing, and he created a whole new level of ring announcing. And I became a big fan. But the weird thing was, every time I watched him on TV, they put Chiron on the screen, and his name was Michael Buffer. Now, I owned telemarketing companies as a businessman in my 20s. I looked in every phone book because we did not have the internet back then, and we naturally looked for our last name. Never saw my name in any phone book in every single city of the United States. And here comes this man, says Michael Buffer, and we kind of look alike, similar. He's a pretty boy. But it's like, okay, what's going on here? So I did some research and called Don King's offices, and People come up to me and say, "Hey, is that your brother, the guy that goes, 'Let's get ready to rumble'?" And I'm like, "No, my brother's Brian, who is the brother I grew up with my whole life." And long story cut short, I asked my dad, and my dad finally told me. He said, "Son, I never told you, but I was married during World War II for 9 months. A child was born. A divorce ensued. And the last time I saw that child was when he was 2.5.
Wow.
And that happened to be Michael Buffer. Wow. And he was raised under a name of Huber by foster parents. And then when he went in the Army, they said, 'Your name is not Michael Huber. Your name is Michael Buffer,' because that was on his birth certificate. And that's it. That's the story right there.
Wow. And how did you guys meet up?
Basically, we got in contact with him. My dad contacted him when he was doing a show in Los Angeles where we lived. They got together for lunch after Michael called him back, and it turned out to be his son. And then we all got together for dinner. And 4 years later, I had 2 very successful companies, but I was burned out. I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. And I told Michael I wanted to sell both companies and manage his career and become his business partner. And that I was going to put him in movies and TV and make video games and toys. And he's like, "How are you going to do all that?" I said, "I really don't know. But if I'm going to give all this up, you better believe I'm going to figure it out." And the rest is history.
That's great. So what is your advice for upcoming ring announcer or octagon announcers? And to like,
I mean, there's going to be an upcoming octagon announcer?
I
That's
don't know.
news to me.
I'm
just kidding.
Maybe in a couple of years. No. So what's your advice for people that's just starting and actually want to be you or Michael?
Well, first off, I would tell you, don't try to be me or Michael. The trick to doing anything you do in life is to be yourself, is to find your own style and find out what you're good at. If you're copying other people, you're going to be known as the guy that's copying other people, and you're never going to come off well. People tried to copy Michael for years. I'm noticing people trying to copy me now, even the way I move physically. And I'm like, dude, you're looking kind of weird, okay? Just be yourself, yeah. Right? So my best advice is to handle yourself with class, dress well, look the part, have fun. Have your personality come out in your announcing. Have fun, work on your voice, and don't try to create a phrase. Don't think I got to have a "let's get ready to" or an "it's time to." That's copying. Don't be that way. Don't be phrase driven. If something happens naturally, like I was never phrase driven, "it's time" came naturally. So work on entertaining the crowd with your energy and your excitement and being yourself to be recognized as an individual. And that's what people will hire you for. And then try in the geographical location in which you live to get as many jobs as you can related to or announcing, whether it's a sports game on the sidelines for soccer, whether it's announcing in a fight if you can find it. But start in your geographical location, because you have to grow out of that. Nobody's going to hire you and fly you to Germany to announce a fight when you've never announced fights. So don't get delusional. Concentrate on where you're at. See if you like it. It's not easy, because when I say it's not easy to make a living as a ring announcer, because there's not a lot of ring announcer work out there. So you want to just be the best you can be.
Okay, that's great. So you've announced, I don't know how many hundreds of names. Did you ever announce yourself?
No, but I have a dream of the World Series of Poker, making the final table at the main event. And as you know, as a poker player that you are, I have announced the final 9 players of the main event playing for the $8 or $10 million. And I would love to announce 8 of the players and then say, in seat number 9, me. Yeah, that would be the best. That'd be awesome.
So, Bruce, I heard you have something special going on your website. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I've been contacted hundreds of times by fans to do championship introductions to where they feel like they're being introduced in the octagon. And I feel bad about charging the amount of money that they've paid me in the past, so I made it very special, and I made it very inexpensive at brucebuffer.com if you go there. So if you fill out the form and you pay through PayPal, then I will send you back an audio file or a video, depending on what you purchase, and I'll be introducing you like Giovanni Chin fighting out of the, all that kind of stuff. You're going to get a recording that will be a keepsake as a UFC fan for life. And I love doing that, and I also do weddings and birthdays. And the excitement for me, aside from the little bit of money, which I also actually donate to charity, to children's, animal, and military charities, what I like is the fact that I get these thank you letters. And I'll be honest with you, I love the fans so much I get tears in my eyes sometimes because they're so excited. And it makes me so happy to make the fans happy. So that's my way of giving back, So just go to brucebuffer.com and you get all the information there.
You do voicemails as well, right?
Voicemails, it's amazing. Birth of babies, coming out now. It's all there.
That's great. Now, what about your biography you told me just now?
Random House honored me by publishing my biography 5 years ago, which is called It's Time. It's sold out in the stores, but it's on Amazon. I know you have Amazon here, and you can get it there. And I tell all that I've been through in the UFC for 21 years, but it's a story of my life. There's so much more in it. I even have a chapter in there to all the girls I've loved before. So I made it a very interesting book.
It's interesting indeed. Okay, last question. Do you have a message for the Dutch fans?
My message is I want to thank you for being fans of the UFC. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the way that you treat us, because everybody is so courteous here and so nice. And just know that we're all here to perform for you, fighters and people like myself and alike. And it's our job to put on a show for you, to entertain you. And we appreciate all the energy that you can bring to the arena tomorrow night. And thank you for those watching on TV. Amsterdam and the Netherlands is a fighting people, right? A lot of good fighters, great fighters have come out of here. So I respect that, and my job is to do the best I can do for you tomorrow night. It's not about me. The show is about you, and it's about the fighters, and that's what we're here for.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Buffer.
Thank you. Appreciate it.